Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to another video, and this is a paid request for Ryan. Thank you so much for that. For those interested, requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. Do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in the info box. We'll get to it as soon as I possibly can. And this time, Ryan wanted me to look at Sesame Street, Follow That Bird from 1985. Now, I'm not sure how much this film cost. I mean, it made $11 million. I would think it would not have cost that much, so it probably made a profit, but I guess it was still labeled a box office disappointment. I just compared to how the Muppets had their own films, the Muppets Take Manhattan and other stuff, and they were probably making a bit more money. Also, this film came out the same day as the original Fright Night and Weird Science. And I hate to break it to Big Bird, but if I'm a kid, I'm going to watch Weird Science or Fright Night over Sesame Street. I think other people felt the same way, because... And, I mean, 85 alone was a big year. Rambo 2, Commando, Back to the Future, so much more. But, again, the same day as Weird Science and Fright Night? But I guess they figured, well, I mean, this is for family to take their kids to, and nowadays, that would fit. I just not back in 85. Now, Sesame Street, I've said this before, we had 4 channels as a family. One of them was PBS. So, yeah, when I was very, very young, I would watch a little bit of Sesame Street, but not a whole lot. I remember a bit more Reading Rainbow, which now anytime I think of that, I think of the DMX. Just type in Reading Rainbow DMX and you'll thank me later. But I remember, okay, like PBS, like Doctor Who was on there. Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, which was a game show for kids, but it was about geography, so I would always fail. Not just geography, but other things of that realm, like this country. I would always fucking fail, and part of me wants to rewatch that just to see an episode for nostalgia's sake, but I think I remember like checking out, just trying to figure shit out, but that was never one of my strengths, was geography. But I don't think it was just geography, but that's the one I remember the most, because I think there was a point like, here's these countries and continents, like, where does one belong? And I'm like, God, I wouldn't fucking know. Anyway. But of course I know of Sesame Street, and actually I had someone a while ago request the first episode, which is on the channel. I did review the first episode of Sesame Street. And that was intriguing to see how it started, how it was back in the day, and of course how things have changed. So I thought that was a nice trip through time in a way to see the first episode of Sesame Street. So I think that's the only Sesame Street thing I've done on the channel, I think. Don't quote me on that, I think, though. Anyway, this film, if you're a parent, you have kids, it's harmless to watch this movie. There's really nothing that bad or egregious about it. I don't think this is a film I would ever watch again, but I would say the word I would use for this is cute. It's cute for what it needed to be. There's some cameos. It was nice to see Chevy Chase, who's a news anchorman on TV that some of the characters watch. He's only in one scene. And then he gives it to Kermit the Frog, who's a correspondent with a microphone trying to interview people, so cool to see Kermit the Frog in there. You also have John Candy has a cameo. I love John Candy. He's near the end of the film as a cop. There's these 2 conmen, Joe Flaherty and Dave Thomas, and they've done a lot. They've popped up a lot in comedies throughout these years. Dave Thomas, he was with Rick Moranis in Strange Brew, among other stuff. And even some voices, like there's this character named Miss Finch who becomes a big character in the movie. There was another person they were going to voice, but I guess their voice didn't fit, so they got Sally Kellerman. Sally Kellerman was Hot Lips in the original MASH movie. Not the TV show, the movie. And then she was also in Back to School. She became Rodney Dangerfield's love interest. I think she was in Meatballs 3, which I haven't seen Meatballs 3 since I was a kid. So I don't really think of it because I know Wes, a CT from Dead Pit, I think he's a fan of Meatballs 3. He's mentioned that from time to time. I'm like, I barely remember Meatballs 3. I think it's like a ghost of a porn actress trying to help this kid get laid or something. The Meatballs sequels got really, really weird. Because the second one had like an alien in it. And the third one's about like a dead porno ghost. I said and then fourth had Corey Feldman, so you know it got really fucking weird. Meatballs. I think there were only 4 of them. And I liked the first Meatballs movie. But anyway, that's off topic. Before we go on, the story of the film is... Which I thought the opening was kind of funny. Of Oscar the Grouch in front of the big U.S., American flag. And talking about your rights to be grouchy. And make fun of people. And call people out. Because nobody is perfect. I thought that was kind of funny. But this group of birds are around a table. They're like social workers. Their job is to put birds with other bird families. So Miss Finch, voiced by Sally Kellerman, sees Big Bird and goes, needs to be with a bird family. Meanwhile, we cut to Sesame Street. And because it's a movie, we get to see the full bit where you get to see how everything's connected with each other. Because usually on the show, you just see like one bit. But here is these wide shots where you get to see the whole street, and this Oscar the Grouch is here, and Big Bird's over there, and Grover's over here, Cookie Monster's over there. So that's cool to see the whole environment with all these characters in it. And again, a lot of the characters you like on Sesame Street is in this. Cookie Monster, I mentioned, the Count, Oscar the Grouch, Bert and Ernie, the Grover, Snuffy, I can never say his damn name. Snuffleupagus. I might screw that up, but Big Bird calls him Snuffy. Where I think early on, people thought it was like his imaginary friend, and then eventually they showed him. I think that was the case. Obviously, by this time, you're able to see him. Unless at this point, they still... Yeah, maybe it's just in his mind. What is he, schizo? No, anyway. Eventually, Miss Fish comes in and says, don't you want to be with a bird family? And kind of a decent, a cartoon plays out where he imagines himself with a family and being happy. He goes along with the social worker, meets the dodos, and comes to find out they're fucking morons. They're dipshits. They're idiots. There's a mom, a dad, a boy, and a girl. I think the boy is voiced by Eddie Deason, which he's a voice I always recognized. He had a big part in, I think, War Games, Critters 2. Like, if you hear his voice, like you'll recognize who he is. And Big Bird quickly realizes this isn't really working out because all they want to do is find worms. Big Bird doesn't want to find worms. They want to work out to these workout tapes. He doesn't want to do that. They won't let him invite someone who's not a bird. So they're racist too. That's prejudice. So Big Bird's like, fuck this, I'm going to leave. So he leaves. And that's where people at Sesame Street find out on the news. And Chevy Chase is the anchor. He's the anchor man. Brings the Kermit the Frog, who tries to interview the dodos, but they're too stupid. They're like, oh my god, we're on TV. We gotta go to the TV and watch it. And you tell that Kermit the Frog... Kermit's like the nicest guy, but you can tell even he wants to call out how fucking stupid these dodos are. But he doesn't, but you can tell he wants to. And that's when Sesame Street group decide we need to go find him. So like Bert and Ernie get in the plane. The town, I gotta say, the town has some nice things, man. Like his place is pretty pimpin'. His car is pretty bitchin'. No wonder he could count. He probably counts all the fucking money he makes. Because that's how he can afford all this nice shit. Again, and that's kind of the cool thing. Is you get this. I kind of wish we saw more, like Oscar the Grouch when he's in the trash can. I kind of wish we saw. I don't know. I guess I kind of wonder, like when he's in the trash can, if like somehow goes to another like pocket dimension world. Doesn't mean this is fantasy anyway. It's like in Loaded Weapon 1 where you have the trailer park, then he goes in and there's this massive mansion inside this tiny trailer. So, trailer, not the trailer park. He goes into the trailer, but inside this mansion. But, or maybe like to see where Cookie Monster lives and a bit more of that. I think that would have been nice to see. But still, you know, I'm like, wow, Count has a nice place. Has a nice car, goddamn. He's making a good name for himself. Again, he's counting all that damn money he's making to buy all this shit. Stylish. So, like, Oscar the Grouch drives a car. Grover's going to be Super Grover and fly around. Bert and Ernie in their plane. Everybody else get in their cars. They go to search Big Bird while Big Bird is on the road. And meets a couple people on the way. He meets Waylon Jennings, who is the guy who sang the Dukes of Hazzard theme song. He's a turkey truck driver. He drives them and sings a song about ain't no road too long. And you have the other characters cuts to them singing as well. Then Big Bird gets to his place. There's a barn. These two kids let him sleep there overnight. And he's trying to get away from Miss Finch, who's adamant to get Big Bird back to the Bird family. It'll cut to the other characters trying to look. So like Bert and Ernie see him, and then they fly upside down, and Ernie wants to sing a song, and Bert's like, why are you singing a song? So he sings an upside down song. Then gets Bert to sing it. Then Ernie blames Bert. Oh, you screwed it up. What do you mean I screwed it up? You were singing, Bert. No, you sang first. Oscar the Grouch, at one point, they get to this diner, and him and his like Grouch buddies are there, and they're just throwing salad everywhere. And actually, Sandra Bernhard, who I've seen her a couple stuff, she was one of the bad guys in the Bruce Willis film Hudson Hawk. Sandra Bernhard's been in other stuff. And the cook is actually Paul Bartel. Paul Bartel, who did Eating Raoul, he had a brief cameo in Chopping Mall. Paul Bartel's been in a couple things, so he was like the cook. So it's another cameo. Grover is flying and he thinks he sees Big Bird, but it's one of the group's yellow cars. I like what Grover says, where he's like, you guys lied to me. Grover, Super Grover, please. When's lunch? And just the way he voiced that was rather funny. I don't know when Elmo became a thing. When did Elmo become part of Sesame Street? I'm curious. Kevin Clash took over as the main puppeteer in 1984. So yeah, it was more like the mid-90s when it became popular. So I guess he was in a background in 1980. So yeah, around this time, Elmo wasn't really the Elmo think of today, so that's why. Okay, I was just curious. Should have looked that up before, but I didn't even think of it until now. If they did this movie nowadays, you'd definitely have Elmo in there. Because of the story, like, the other characters can only do so much. So, like, you do have appearances of the Cookie Monster because he keeps eating pieces of the car and they need to stop him. Because they need to keep going. The set with Bert and Ernie in the plane was kind of funny. And then, they had some shots that, trying to be a bit more ambitious because it is a movie. So, you see Bert and Ernie in the plane, and the plane's going upside down, and they're flying it upside down. There's some cool looking shots with that. There's a bit where these two come they kidnap Big Bird, they dye him blue. I mean, I think it's an attraction just to have a big yellow bird, but I guess they need him blue as well. When they find him and they break Big Bird out, there's a bit where he's got to jump to her car, and they have wide shots, so it's a person in a suit. And here's the thing, it may not seem like a big jump, because imagine like the car's here, and the car they're following is here, and so Big Bird has to be like this. That might not seem much, like from here to here, but you're still on a road, you're still going at whatever speed, and that suit is not meant to be moving around quick or jump far, because how much more weight is on you because of the suit, and how much can you actually see? Because you're looking through the slits of the eyes or whatever. So, again, it's not fucking, James Bond, Mission Impossible stunt, but to be in a suit and make that bit of a jump for Sesame Street, it's still something. And you gotta jump onto the hood of a car. Again, it's not going. Not saying it's Mission Impossible, but I still commend the person doing that, because that's not an easy thing to do with what all the shit you have to have on. So, but I mean, they're able to find Big Bird. They're able to unlock the tease. I kind of wish. I know it's going to be a weird reference, but I kind of wish it was like Police Academy. What I mean by that is, at the end of those films, there'll be like a bunch of bad guys, and each character has their way of dealing with these bad guys. So maybe if like these two conmen had like friends, and then like the count, 1 plate, 2 plates, like throwing plates at them, 3 plates, haha, 4 plates. And like or some get to the Cookie Monster, and maybe they throw something, the Cookie Monster just eats it up. Want more? And starts chasing them. Ah. Or maybe they have some kind of weapon, like a bat or something, and Cookie Monster grabs it, just eats the bat or something, and then goes after them. Grover, Super Grover, they don't take seriously. Then you find out Super Grover really does have powers and can beat all the bad guys up. Like, part of me wishes you could have had something like that in it, where they take out all the bad guys. But I don't know if maybe some people would think that's not appropriate for Sesame Street, because Sesame Street's not really known for beating up bad guys. So maybe I'm thinking about the wrong characters for that to happen with. I just think as a movie that'd be fun to see, but again, maybe they felt, well, these characters don't really beat up people. They teach you how to count, and they teach you, other stuff. So that's why they don't really get the bad guys. John Candy does. Just this kid that they screwed over before went to John Candy, and John Candy stops them. And it's cool to see John Candy in there, even though it's very brief as a cop that stops the two con men. Because I love John Candy. I miss John Candy a lot. I heard there's going to be some documentary made that Ryan Reynolds is producing because he's a big John Candy fan. That's cool because he deserves it. He deserved it a long time ago. I mean, whether it be... I love Summer Rental. I like Armed and Dangerous. I think that's underrated. I like Spaceballs. I don't think you need a sequel. But they're doing it anyway. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a classic. Cool Runnings is fun. It was cool to see him in bits like Shitty Shop of Shores, Little Shop of Horrors. I mean, his last couple films, Sally, weren't that great. Wagons East. What was that one he did? The Canadian Bacon. Even like Only the Lonely and the other one. I like Nothing But Trouble. What was the other one? It was like in Paris or something. It was like a murder mystery. I forget what it was. That's how good it was. Anyway, but I love John T. I miss him. So it was cool to see him in this bit role. I think technically I've reviewed pretty much every John Candy film. I'm just curious about that. Sorry. I'm just curious about this. If I go to my channel, if I type John Candy. Yeah, John Candy movie reviews. I reviewed. It seemed like a good time. Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Find the Lady, The Clown Murders, Deadly Companion. Spoiler, none of them were good. And most of these, well, some of these he had bit parts in. Others, I mean, more so, but they weren't good. The Blues Brothers, I liked it. Stripes, classic. It Came From Hollywood, pretty fun. Going Berserk, not a fan. Splash, it was okay. Last Polka, Canadian Conspiracy, Volunteers, hated it. Brewster's Millions, I liked it. Summer Rental, probably my favorite John Candy film. Armed and Dangerous, fun. Spaceballs, fun. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, a classic. Great Outdoors, I liked. Who's Harry Crumb, it's fine. Speed Zone, disappointing. Uncle Buck is fun. Nothing But Trouble, underrated. Delirious, it's there. Only the Lonely, Once Upon a Crime, not a fan. Wide Disease, sucked. Canadian Bacon, sucked. So yeah, there you go from that. So yeah, I was just curious about that. I know I went on a John Candy, tangent, but the guy deserves it. He deserves more talked about more. So it was great to see him, even though it's briefly. But he gets back home, Big Bird, and everything's fine, and the movie's over, and there you go. So, you gotta think of it this. If I saw this when I was 10, 12 years old, maybe I would have a different feel of the film. As a guy in my 40s, I go, it was cute. It was fine to see some of these characters, and I didn't see Bert and Ernie in the plane, and the see these characters outside of Sesame Street, so have a bit of a broader scope because of that. For people who are big fans of Sesame Street, that was nice to see, to be something different, something unique, something off the beaten path, and again, I guess they were not that satisfied with the results. They didn't really do many other Sesame Street films now that I think about it. Just like the Muppets, you had the Muppets, let's say Tape Manhattan, and you had the Muppets in Space, you had the Muppets Christmas Carol one, you had the one with the Muppets when they did the movie that came out, I don't know, it was a decade ago, and then they did a sequel to that. But they never did another, I don't know if they ever did another Sesame Street movie. Like, theatrical movie. I'm kind of curious. How many Sesame Street films? So other than Elmo and Grouchland in 1999, because Elmo was getting very popular, especially because of the Tickle Me Elmo craze, which I remember that. I never got one because it just wasn't for me, but yeah, those are the only two theatrical. Anyway, some of those Muppets I mentioned were not theatrical, but Like, there might have been, like, kid videos. But I'm in, like, the ones I mentioned, like the Muppets, so. Yeah, they must have really looked at the box office and went, let's not do this again. Which, I mean, it wasn't that bad. It was just, it's harmless. It's fine. Like I say, if you have kids, you can watch it. It's fine. It just, what can I say? I'm in my 40s. Did I get a whole lot out of this? No. But at the same time, it was nice to see these characters in a different environment. That was nice to see. Big Bird being the focus made sense. You know, the characters kept their attitude. They were still in character. They didn't seem like they did anything out of character. Yeah, I kind of wish they had a bit more to do. Some of the other characters, especially at the end of the film. It's kind of just, they're kind of standing there watching while someone gets the keys and unlocks the door. But like, again, they don't really do anything. They're just watching. That's what I mean. I wish they had a bit more to do. But again, maybe it's like, well, we don't want them to attack bad guys. We don't want them to fight because that's not how our show is. So if that's the case, then you're putting a bit of handcuffs on you to what you can and can't do. But anyway. As a kid's film, it's fine. It doesn't do anything that egregious or horrible. There's no, like, tasteless jokes or anything. You know, I did a couple familiar cameos, but not a whole lot. The songs were there. I mean, I would never listen to these songs again. I guess they worked fine. I would say probably the best one would be Waylon Jennings, because he's a good singer. But, I mean, I would never listen to that song again either, so I could take it or leave it. But with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. And yeah, this was okay. So, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.